Hiking is supposed to be an escape from fresh air, breathtaking views, and a break from the chaos of everyday life. But sometimes, nature has other plans. In 2025, some hikers set out on what they thought would be an ordinary adventure, only to meet horrifying and mysterious fates. From unexplained disappearances to brutal encounters with the elements, these stories will make you think twice before lacing up your boots. Here are 5 of the most disturbing hiker deaths of 2025. Chilling, tragic, and downright eerie. For over 2 decades, Ann Houghton was a guardian of the Great Smoky Mountains, a passionate hiker, a tireless volunteer, and a woman whose love for the wilderness ran deep. She knew these trails better than most, having spent more than 4,000 hours navigating them, educating visitors, and preserving the land she held dear. But on a routine overnight hike, something went terribly wrong. Ann set out on Tuesday, 28th January, just as she had countless times before. There was no reason to suspect danger, no warnings, no bad weather, no sign that this hike would be different. But when she didn't return the next day, unease crept in. At first, many believed she was simply delayed, maybe enjoying an extra moment in the place she loved most. But as the days stretched on with no word, that hope turned into something darker. By Saturday, when she failed to show up for her volunteer shift, alarm bells rang. A full-scale search began, with multiple agencies racing against time to find her. Her vehicle was discovered at Smokemont Campground, a haunting reminder that she had ventured into the wilderness but never made it back. The search pushed deeper, covering miles of rugged terrain, Bradley Fork, Chastine Creek, Hughes Ridge, until finally, nearly a week after she vanished, the heartbreaking truth was uncovered. At 1:53 p.m. on Sunday, February 2nd, Ann's body was found just a quarter mile from the Enlow Creek Trail, so close to the path, so agonizingly near to safety. Yet, something had stopped her from making it back. Authorities have yet to determine her cause of death, but they have ruled out foul play. Still, the mystery lingers. What happened to a woman so experienced, so deeply connected to these mountains that even the most challenging trails had never fazed her before? Her loss sent shockwaves through the community. Ann was an enduring and beloved member of our Smokies community, said Charles Sellers, acting superintendent of Great Smoky Mountains National Park. She was a dedicated volunteer and avid hiker who shared her passion for the park with many visitors. Great Smoky Mountains National Park offers condolences to her family and friends. The search effort had been massive, with the teams from Cherokee Fire and Rescue, Bucer, the Macon Volunteer Fire Department, the Cowie Volunteer Fire Department, the Appalachian Mountain Rescue Team, and the Jackson County Sheriff's Office working tirelessly to find her. But in the end, the Smokies took back one of their own. Ann's dedication was unmatched since 2004. She had taken few, if any, breaks in service, the Park Service said. In 2022, her tireless efforts earned her a nomination for the prestigious George and Helen Hartzog Award for Outstanding Volunteer Service. Her tragic death raises more questions than answers. Was it a sudden medical emergency, a misstep on the trail, or something more sinister lurking in the wilderness? Whatever happened in those final moments, one thing is certain: Ann Houghton's legacy will forever be etched into the very mountains she gave her life to. Zion National Park is a place of beauty and danger, where breathtaking views mask the unforgiving terrain beneath. Hikers travel from all over the world to explore its towering cliffs and winding trails, seeking adventure and awe-inspiring sights. But for one man, what should have been an ordinary trek turned into a fatal mystery, one that has left visitors and authorities searching for answers. On the morning of Sunday, February 2nd, 2025, a chilling call came in. A hiker had been found motionless on the Canyon Overlook Trail, one of Zion's most well-traveled paths. Park officials were alerted at 7:15 a.m., and emergency responders rushed to the scene. Every second counted. Was he injured? Was he still alive? But as they arrived, hope quickly faded. The 37-year-old man was already gone. The Canyon Overlook Trail isn't the most treacherous path in Zion, but it demands respect. It stretches just 1 mile, a hike that usually takes about an hour. But don't let the distance fool you. Steep drop-offs, shifting terrain, and sudden elevation changes make this a trail where one wrong step can mean disaster. Yet, something about this case is unsettling. How did an experienced adult hiker meet such an abrupt and tragic fate on a trail considered moderate? If it had been a sheer cliff face like Angel's Landing, perhaps the cause would be obvious. But here, the circumstances remain clouded in uncertainty. Was it a simple misstep in the early morning hours, a sudden medical emergency, or did something else happen, something more sinister lurking in the shadows of Zion? As the Washington County Sheriff's Office launches an investigation, the questions are piling up. Was he hiking alone? Were there any witnesses? Did he suffer a fatal fall? Or did his body simply give out under the strain of the climb? Authorities remain tight-lipped, fueling speculation and concern. Those who have walked the Canyon Overlook Trail before can't help but feel a chill at the thought. How could someone set out for a simple hike and never return? One moment, he was climbing the rocky path, taking in the beauty of Zion. The next, his life was over, leaving only a lifeless body on the trail as the park's towering cliffs stood silent. This wasn't supposed to happen, but in nature's raw and unpredictable embrace, even the most familiar trails can turn deadly. And until the truth is uncovered, one question will haunt every hiker who sets foot on that trail. Could this happen to me? What started as an exhilarating New Year's Day adventure in the Italian Alps has spiraled into a chilling tragedy. Samuel Harris, 35, and Aziz Ziriat, 36, both experienced hikers from London, had set off into the Adamello Range with a plan to trek from mountain hut to mountain hut, immersing themselves in the breathtaking but unforgiving beauty of the Italian wilderness. It was a journey they had done before, a test of skill, endurance, and brotherhood. But this time, something went terribly wrong. Days passed without a word. Their families weren't immediately alarmed. After all, Harris and Ziriat lived for this kind of isolation. They were known for pushing their limits, venturing into remote landscapes where phone signals faded into silence. Their friends reassured themselves that the pair was simply off the grid, enjoying the vast solitude of the mountains. Their loved ones had trusted their expertise. They go a couple of times a year. It wasn't surprising that they had no signal they like going off the grid, recalled Joe Stone, a close friend of Ziriat. But then January 6th arrived the day they were supposed to fly home. They never boarded their flight, they never checked in, they never even made it back to civilization. And that was when concern turned into fear. The search began under impossible conditions. Thick fog rolled in like a curtain, blocking all visibility. Snow piled up in heavy sheets, concealing every trace of movement. Rescuers tried to send helicopters to scan the peaks and valleys, but the relentless weather forced them to retreat. The mountains, it seemed, were refusing to give up their secrets. Finally, after days of battling nature's fury, a breakthrough rescuers, guided by the hikers' last phone activity, reached an isolated section of the range, near the treacherous south face of Carre Alto. And that's where they found him. Samuel Harris lay buried under the snow, lifeless, at the foot of a sheer rockfall. His backpack and gear were strewn nearby, half consumed by ice and time. Had he fallen? Slipped on the unforgiving terrain? Had an avalanche swept him away? The answers lay somewhere in the frozen silence, but one thing was certain, he hadn't made it out. But where was Aziz Ziriat? The discovery of Harris's body only deepened the mystery. There was no sign of his friend, no immediate clues to his fate. Had he tried to find help? Was he still out there, trapped, waiting for rescue? Or had the mountains already claimed him too, hiding his body somewhere beneath the endless drifts of snow? Rescuers fought against time, pushing forward with everything they had, but the mountain had its own plans. Within hours of finding Harris, the weather turned. Once more thick fog descended. Visibility vanished, and the threat of avalanches became too great. The search had to be suspended. Now, as the storm rages on, the search for Ziriat remains frozen in uncertainty. His loved ones can do nothing but wait, caught between hope and heartbreak. Did he manage to find shelter, waiting for a rescue that may never come? Or has the Adamello Range taken him, keeping its final secret buried beneath ice and stone? The only way to find out is to go back up the mountain, and when the weather clears, that's exactly what they'll do, because one man is still missing, and time is running out. What was meant to be an ambitious and exhilarating challenge turned into a harrowing tale of survival, and ultimately a tragic end on the slopes of Mount Whitney, the tallest peak in the contiguous United States. Taylor Rodriguez, a 29-year-old from San Antonio, had set his sights on the summit of this towering 14,505-foot mountain. Little did he know that his journey would soon spiral into the kind of nightmare that strikes fear into the heart of even the most experienced hikers. It was December 30th, 2024, when Rodriguez began his ascent full of anticipation and excitement, but entirely unaware of the battle he was about to face. As the days passed, his family and friends heard nothing, and by January 2nd, 2025, the alarms were raised. Rodriguez was officially reported missing after he failed to check in and didn't return as planned. His whereabouts were unknown. The mountain was holding him captive. Inyo County Search and Rescue sprang into action, joined by the dedicated team of the Inyo County Sheriff's Office. The Whitney Trail and Mountaineers Route, popular paths to the summit, were scoured, with the hope that someone might have seen the young hiker, or perhaps had some clue about his last known movements. The search was urgent, but in a vast wilderness like Mount Whitney, the mountain had its own plans. The hours ticked by with no sign of Rodriguez. As the days blurred into each other, the search grew more desperate, with officials turning to social media, hoping fellow climbers who had braved the treacherous trails between December 30 and January 2 might hold the key to finding Rodriguez. But the mountain seemed to keep its silence, unwilling to give up its secrets. Then, on January 4th, the unthinkable was confirmed. Rodriguez's body was discovered at an elevation of 12,000 feet near the North Fork of Lone Pine Creek Trail. The rescue teams, exhausted and battered by the elements, had found what they feared most. The reality set in the mountain had claimed its prize, and this brave adventurer's journey had ended in the harshest of ways. We extend our deepest condolences to Taylor's family and friends during this difficult time, Inyo County Search and Rescue shared in a heartbreaking post. Rodriguez had initially set out from San Antonio on December 28th, driven by the dream of summiting Mount Whitney, but his fate took an unexpected turn when he changed his plans and opted to attempt the peak on his own. The details of his final days are still unknown. What happened between his departure and the fateful discovery remains a haunting mystery, the mountain's cruel nature obscuring the answers in the wind, snow, and brutal elements. For those who venture into the unforgiving wilderness, Mount Whitney is a reminder of the delicate balance between human ambition and nature's raw power. Rodriguez's tragic end underscores the unpredictability of even the most well-planned expeditions, and the devastating reality that sometimes the mountains don't give up their secrets without a heavy price. As the search and rescue teams pack up, the mountain holds its silence, leaving us with only questions. How close did Rodriguez come to the summit? What happened in those final days on the mountain? For his loved ones, the answers may never come, but the memory of his journey will live on, a sobering reminder of the dangers and beauty that lie in the world's highest places. On Sunday, February 2nd, 2025, a breathtaking hike turned into a nightmare that no one could have predicted. The serene beauty of the Punch Bowls area near Santa Paula, a place that should have been filled with awe and adventure, became the backdrop for a tragic, heart-wrenching tale. A man in his mid-40s, later identified as John Antonio Madrigal, 44, from Oxnard, lost his life after an unforgiving fall into the icy, rushing waters. What was supposed to be a simple hike with a close friend ended in desperate attempts to save a life and ultimately crushing defeat. It was around noon when the Ventura County Sheriff's Office received the disturbing report. A hiker had plunged into the water and was unable to recover. In the early moments, no one knew exactly what had transpired, but as rescue teams rushed to the scene, the truth began to unfold. Madrigal had been hiking with a close friend, the kind of bond that made the wilderness seem smaller, more manageable. But as the two hiked through the rugged terrain, tragedy struck without warning. The water of punch bowls, beautiful yet deceiving, took hold of him in a flash. Madrigal's friend, a devastated witness to the horror, did everything he could to save him. In a split second, his best friend was gone, pulled into the frigid depths. Desperation flooded his every thought. Without hesitation, he threw himself into the water, twice, hoping to reach Madrigal before it was too late. The coldness of the water, the strength of the current, nothing could overcome the overwhelming power of nature that trapped his friend. Each second felt like an eternity, but despite his frantic attempts, Madrigal couldn't be reached. With no choice left, the friend did the unthinkable. He ran for miles trying to find a signal, hoping against hope that he could reach someone, anyone who might be able to help. His heart pounded in his chest, his breath shallow as panic overtook him. He had to do something. He had to reach 9/11. The mountain, the water, the vastness of it all was suddenly suffocating. After what must have felt like an eternity, he managed to text for help, but by the time the rescue teams arrived, it was already too late. Later, when the Ventura County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed the devastating news, it was revealed that Madrigal had drowned the water, claiming him in the worst possible way. But there was more to the tragedy. Atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease was found to have played a part, complicating the already dire situation. What should have been a routine outing had turned into a frantic, impossible struggle for survival. A life lost to a mix of the harsh elements and an unforgiving body. As the days went by, the details began to emerge. Preliminary reports from the sheriff's office initially suggested that Madrigal had fallen into the water, but the friend, speaking out for the first time, shed a different light on what happened. According to him, Madrigal had dove in intentionally, perhaps unaware of the dangers the water held. What went through Madrigal's mind in those last moments? Did he misjudge the situation? Did he think he could handle the water, only to be overwhelmed in the blink of an eye? We may never know. But what was clear is the agony that followed the helplessness of a friend who tried everything he could to save someone he loved. The pain of watching someone so close slip away, knowing you did your best, but it wasn't enough. The mountain, with its beauty, had claimed another victim, and there was nothing anyone could do to change it. As the investigation continues, the death has been ruled an accident. Yet, for those who knew Madrigal, the questions linger. How close was he to safety? Was there anything anyone could have done to stop this? The Punch Bowls, a place that attracts so many with its beauty, has now become a solemn reminder of how quickly things can go wrong and how fragile life truly is. The wilderness can be both breathtaking and brutal, and in this tragic event it claimed a man, a friend, and a memory that will never fade.